Let's talk about frameworks. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the things you need to do and see to understand this, to understand this, to understand this. So, in preparation for my road trip coming up, I wanted to make this video to introduce the concept of frameworks, what they are, why they're important, and what we hope to achieve by using them in our day-to-day lives. So frameworks are a way of creating structure. They're very abstract, very broad, very general, and they encompass a wide array of applications. It provides us a mindset to help frame situations and information into knowledge that we can then apply into future situations and scenarios. And it enables us to have things like best practices, methods and procedures, processes that help us do things more effectively in the future. And talking about like what we hope to achieve by using them, it's essentially a way of creating order from chaos. And I'll try to talk about this in more detail in future videos, but the idea of chaos is that with entropy, constantly increasing in life, and the idea of like energy loss in general, it gives us a way of trying to unify what we have and consolidate it in a way that we can then share our experience to others. One of the things that I think would be helpful in like seeing the need for this is this graph of the word frameworks and how it's used over time in like since internet's been around mostly, but you can see like a steady increase in the usage of the word framework, and I think it highlights the need that we have to want some sort of structure and order. And one of the things that I'll go into now is an example of a specific framework that I've encountered over my years. And these three fundamental concepts will give us context into understanding what makes up these life cycles and why they are helpful in achieving what we need to. So to explain the simplest case, we have a single timeline with a start and an end. And we have checkpoints or milestones along the way. Typically, we start at one place, end in another place, and there we just traverse in this one direction. And if you consider this as one iteration, right? So the next case is an actual cycle, which means that you have a starting point which goes to your ending point, and then you start the cycle over again, and you have your checkpoints along the way. You go in some direction and you keep going in that circle. So the first one here is a little bit confusing. It shows the life cycle in terms of one dimension, but there's actually two inherent in it, and that's where the second diagram comes in. It shows the time and space as a multi-dimensional array. After you do one cycle, you've done something in some sort of space, and you're going to keep going in another space. To illustrate this more effectively, it's probably easier to visualize it as a spiral, and I don't like the spiral, so we're going to do this again. So with the spiral, let's say this is your starting point, this is your hypothetical ending point. You're going on the spiral and you're achieving things in the same way you're having milestones. By the time you finish one of these circles, so one of these spirals, or one ring in the spiral, you would have done everything and you are in a new place now. It means that you've learned something.
And by learning something, you have gained some knowledge, and with us living lives, we tend to use this concept to give life to other things. So going into the first example of this, we have like the software development lifecycle, and I'll go through a few of them, but don't get hung up on the actual specific domain stuff. I want you to keep in mind that there's a start, there's an end, and the whole point of the cycle is that after the end you start back again. And you have your milestones, you have things that you're doing, things that you're learning. By the time you get to the ending point here, you would have gotten to a different place, even if you're going back to do analysis again in the next round. Second one here, we have the human-centered design project scoping. So you start here, you end here, you go through all the things, and then you come back around. And again, you're not in the same place, you gain knowledge along the way. And I probably don't have to go into detail with all of these, but I just want to show the recurring theme and help it sink in a little bit. So definitely, as you encounter these in your career or just personal life, just keep in mind just the nature of why it exists and what it is that's happening under the hood, no matter domain specific knowledge of what's going on. So the biggest thing to take away from this is that we rely on the similarities between our lives in a human sense and the quote-unquote lives that we give our products and services to mirror the fact that they are relating to us and they only exist within our scope of context. So whether this is a good or bad thing, I'll leave it up to you to decide. I kind of just want us to be more aware